The story begins in a simple apartment, far away from the glass towers of the city. A man named Daniel sat with his twins, Emma and Ethan. He looked like any ordinary father. His shirt was faded, his shoes were worn, his hands, though strong, showed quiet signs of work. The children leaned against him, their eyes wide with trust. Emma's voice broke the silence. Daddy, why are we going to meet this lady tomorrow? Daniel smiled gently, because sometimes life surprises us. Emma, tomorrow might be one of those days. He did not tell them the full truth. He was the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the city. He owned skyscrapers, hotels, and businesses that carried his name. But tonight, none of that mattered. Here, he was only their father. The truth was that he had agreed to a blind date. His friends had insisted he try. But Daniel had grown tired of people who only saw his wealth. He wanted someone who would see him, not his money. So he had decided on a plan. Tomorrow, he would not be the CEO. He would go as a man with little more than honesty, 2 children, and a heart that longed for something real. Emma and Ethan didn't fully understand, but they hugged him tightly, as if to say they were ready for whatever came. And Daniel, holding them close, whispered to himself, tomorrow, everything might change. The next morning came with quiet light, slipping through the curtains. Daniel moved in the kitchen, the sound of eggs sizzling filling the air. Emma placed forks on the table, humming to herself. Ethan tried not to spill the milk as he carried it carefully in both hands. Life was simple here. Their plates did not match, and the chairs creaked when they sat, but laughter was always present. As Daniel placed food on the table, Emma tilted her head. Daddy, will she like us? Daniel paused, then smiled. If she has a good heart, she will, and that is what matters. Ethan nodded firmly. Then she will. Daniel looked at his children. They were his strength, his anchor. He had built empires, faced boardrooms, and signed deals worth millions. Yet none of it had ever felt as precious as these moments. Today was different. Today, he was stepping into the unknown, hoping to find someone who would not be blinded by wealth or power. For now, though, he was just a father sharing breakfast with his twins, the smell of toast and eggs wrapping them in comfort. When breakfast was done, they stepped outside into the soft hum of the neighborhood. Daniel locked the door behind him. His clothes were plain, nothing to suggest who he truly was. Emma adjusted her backpack straps. Ethan clutched Daniel's hand. The street buzzed with morning life. Shopkeepers raised shutters. Neighbors walked briskly to work. A child ran past with a school bag bouncing behind him. Daniel breathed in the familiar air. This was the life he wanted her to see first, the ordinary one, not the polished halls of his wealth. Where are we meeting her? Emma asked. Daniel answered gently. At a small café, not far from here, somewhere quiet, where we can talk. Ethan grinned. I hope she likes pancakes. I like pancakes. Daniel laughed softly. We'll see. His steps were steady, but inside, there was unease. He had been on many dates before. All of them had ended the same way. The moment his wealth was revealed, the warmth faded. What remained was admiration for his money, not for him. This time had to be different. As they walked together down the street, Daniel told himself he was not a CEO today. He was simply Daniel, a man, and a father. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee and warm bread. Wooden chairs scraped gently against the floor as customers moved. Outside, sunlight touched the windows, making the glass glow. Daniel sat in the corner with his twins. Emma and Ethan shared a plate of pancakes, their small forks tapping lightly against the plate. But Daniel's eyes often lifted to the door. Every time it opened, his heart gave a quiet beat of wonder. He told himself to be patient. This was not a meeting of strangers, it was a step into possibility. Daddy, you're staring too much, Emma whispered with a smile. Daniel chuckled. I'm just waiting. Ethan leaned closer. Do you think she liked pancakes too? Daniel grinned. Maybe. That would be a good sign. Moments passed. The cafe filled with soft chatter and clinking cups. Daniel's calm mask hid the truth. His thoughts were racing. Would she come? Would she stay if she saw who he was, without his name, without his wealth? Then the door opened again, and in walked someone who made the whole room shift. She entered with calm steps, her presence quiet yet sure. Her clothes were simple, but her posture carried dignity. Her eyes searched the cafe until they found Daniel's. For a moment, time slowed. Daniel rose from his chair. You must be Claire. She smiled softly. Yes, and you're Daniel. Her gaze shifted to the twins. Emma gave a shy wave. Ethan grinned wide. These are my children, Daniel said gently. Emma and Ethan. Claire's smile widened, and she bent slightly. Hello, Emma. Hello, Ethan. The twins answered, their voices small but bright. Daniel watched closely. Most people he had met hesitated when they learned he had children, but Claire's eyes showed no pause, only warmth. They sat together, the simple wooden table between them. The twins returned to their pancakes, and Daniel and Claire began to talk. The sound of her voice was calm, easy. She asked about the children first, not about him. She laughed at Ethan's quick jokes and nodded with care when Emma spoke of her drawings. Daniel felt something stir in his chest, something rare. For the first time in years, he was not being studied, not being measured by what he owned. He was simply being seen. The table became alive with quiet warmth. Claire leaned closer as Emma pulled out a folded paper from her backpack. It was a drawing of a small house under a bright sun. It's beautiful, Claire said softly, her eyes shining with sincerity. Emma beamed. It's our home. I drew it last night. Ethan quickly added. I helped with the sun. Claire laughed gently. Then you both make a good team. Daniel listened, his heart still. He had watched people glance at his children with polite distance before, but Claire's attention was full, genuine. She cared about their words. When she looked at him, her gaze held no question of wealth or status, only a quiet interest in who he was. They spoke about small things, school projects, favorite foods, the weather outside. Yet for Daniel, it felt more than enough. For once, the air was not heavy with expectation. It was light, as if they had all known each other longer than a single morning. Daniel found himself smiling in ways he hadn't in years. Hours passed gently, though none of them seemed to notice. The cafe grew quieter as the morning rush faded. Sunlight stretched through the window, touching the table with gold. Emma and Ethan played a small handclap game, their laughter filling the space between conversations. Daniel leaned slightly closer to Claire, their voices lowered, the kind of tone people used when words began to matter. You seem different, Daniel said carefully. Claire tilted her head. Different how? Most people I meet don't ask about my children first. They don't listen the way you do. Her smile was small, almost thoughtful. I don't see why anyone wouldn't. They're a part of you. Daniel's chest tightened at her words. It was rare, this kind of simple honesty. She asked him about his life, and he spoke, carefully avoiding the truth of his wealth. He told her about raising the twins, about long nights of work, about wanting something real. And Claire listened, her hands resting calmly on the table, her eyes steady. For the first time in years, Daniel felt hope stirring quietly, like the first light of dawn. When they finally rose from the table, the sun had moved high above the city. The cafe door swung open, and they stepped into the lively street. Vendors called out, cars passed slowly. The air smelled faintly of roasted nuts from a nearby stall. Emma and Ethan skipped ahead, hand in hand, their laughter rising above the hum of the street. Daniel walked beside Claire, the rhythm of their steps falling into quiet harmony. Did you enjoy today? He asked softly. Claire looked at him with a calm smile. Yes, more than I expected. Daniel exhaled slowly, as if releasing something he had been carrying for too long. He glanced at her, then at his children, and thought of the choice he had made. To hide who he was. To step into this meeting not as a millionaire, but as a man. So far, it had felt right. Asterisk Claire reached out, lightly brushing her hand against Emma's shoulder as the child slowed to show her a shop window filled with colorful toys. Asterisk the moment was small, but to Daniel, it carried weight. Asterisk he looked at her and felt something deep inside begin to shift. Asterisk this was not just a blind date anymore. It was the beginning of something he had longed for, something true. Asterisk they reached a small park not far from the café. Sing the twins ran ahead, climbing onto the swings with eager hands. Asterisk their laughter rose into the air, pure and unbroken. Asterisk Daniel and Claire sat on a bench nearby. Asterisk leaves rustled overhead. A cool breeze brushed against them. Asterisk Claire watched the children, her face calm. "They're full of life," she said. Asterisk they are my whole world. Daniel replied softly. Asterisk she turned toward him. "You've done well. It can't have been easy." Asterisk Daniel's chest grew heavy. He had spent years carrying the weight of responsibility, hiding behind walls of wealth and control. Asterisk but here, sitting beside someone who spoke with no hidden motive, he felt his defenses lowering. Asterisk he wanted to tell her the truth, yet he held it back. Not yet. Asterisk he needed to be sure. Asterisk for now. He let the silence rest between them, peaceful, broken only by Emma and Ethan's laughter as they soared higher on the swings. The air grew cooler, carrying the smell of earth after a long day in the sun. Asterisk Emma and Ethan skipped a few steps ahead, their voices carrying through the dusk. Asterisk Daniel and Claire walked side by side, their pace unhurried. Asterisk Claire glanced at him. "You seem thoughtful." Asterisk Daniel smiled faintly. "I'm wondering how long it has been since a day felt this real." Asterisk her eyes softened. "Maybe you just needed the right company." Asterisk the words touched him deeply, more than he expected. Asterisk he wanted to take her hand, but he held back, unsure if the time was right. Asterisk instead, he walked with her in quiet harmony, every step deepening the sense that this meeting was more than chance. Asterisk the night ended in the small apartment where the day had begun. Asterisk Emma and Ethan, worn out from play, curled under their blankets. Asterisk Daniel tucked them in, brushing Emma's hair gently from her face, then pulling the sheet over Ethan's small shoulders. Asterisk good night, Emma whispered, her eyes closing. Asterisk good night, Ethan echoed, already drifting into sleep. Asterisk Daniel leaned down, kissed their foreheads, and stood. Asterisk at the doorway, Claire waited quietly, her gaze fixed on the tender scene. Asterisk when Daniel stepped out, she spoke softly. Asterisk they're lucky to have you. Asterisk Daniel shook his head. "No, I'm the lucky one." Asterisk their eyes met, and for a moment, words felt unnecessary. Asterisk Claire glanced around the modest apartment. "You've built a good home." Asterisk Daniel's heart tightened. If she only knew the truth, that this was not the whole picture, that behind the walls of this simple place stood a man with a life far larger, far more complicated. Asterisk but tonight, he kept the truth still, holding it close like a secret waiting for its right time. Asterisk the following morning, Daniel returned to the world he had hidden. Asterisk the polished marble floors, the endless glass walls, the quiet hum of power. This was the empire he commanded. Asterisk he walked through the corridors in a tailored suit, every step steady, every gaze respectful. Asterisk to his employees, he was the CEO, the man who had built and led. Asterisk but at the window, staring out over the vast city, Daniel felt torn. Asterisk Claire had seen only the man in plain clothes, the father of 2 children in a modest apartment. Asterisk would she see him the same if she knew the truth? Asterisk or would she turn away, as so many had before? Asterisk the thought weighed heavily on him. He wanted honesty, but he feared the cost of revealing it too soon. Asterisk still, he knew one thing, he could not keep the truth from her forever. Asterisk later that week, they met again. Asterisk the children played nearby, their voices drifting like music. Asterisk Daniel and Claire walked slowly, their steps matching. Asterisk there was no café this time, no crowd of strangers, only the calm of a quiet street lined with trees. Asterisk Daniel's face was thoughtful, his hands shifted uneasily. Asterisk Claire, he began, his voice steady but low. "There's something you should know." Asterisk, she turned, her gaze calm. "What is it?" Asterisk, he drew a breath. "I haven't been completely honest. The apartment, the worn clothes, They're part of me, but not all of me. I live another life too, one most people only see from the outside. Asterisk, her brow furrowed slightly. But she stayed silent, waiting. Asterisk, I run one of the largest companies in the city. I am not poor, Claire. I am the opposite. Asterisk, the words fell heavy between them. Asterisk, Daniel looked at her, bracing for the shift he had seen too many times before, the quick change of eyes, the spark of calculation, the fading of warmth. Asterisk, but Claire's gaze did not change. She simply asked, why did you hide it? Asterisk, because I wanted to know if you could see me. Not the money, not the name, just me. Asterisk, her expression softened. I did, and I do. Asterisk, the quiet truth of her words struck deeper than he expected. Asterisk, one evening, Daniel invited Claire to a place few had ever seen, a rooftop garden above one of his towers. Asterisk, the city lights spread wide around them, glittering in the night. Asterisk, flowers bloomed softly in the glow of small lamps. Asterisk, Emma and Ethan ran across the open space, their laughter rising into the sky. Asterisk, Daniel and Claire sat together, the skyline painting their faces with light. Asterisk, now you've seen both sides of my world, Daniel said quietly. The man in plain clothes, and the man with all of this, both are me. Asterisk, Claire looked at him, her eyes steady. I don't care about towers or titles. What matters is how you care for those children. What matters is the man who sat with me in that café, not the one in the suit. Asterisk, Daniel's throat tightened. Asterisk, in her words, he heard the answer he had longed for. Asterisk, the story came full circle on another morning, back in the small apartment. Asterisk, sunlight poured through the curtains. Asterisk, Daniel stood at the stove, stirring eggs with steady hands. Asterisk, Emma laughed as Claire guided her in pouring juice without spilling. Ethan placed forks neatly on the table, proud of his task. Asterisk, it was ordinary, simple, unremarkable in the eyes of the world. Asterisk, but to Daniel, it was everything. Asterisk, he looked at them, his children, and the woman who had seen through the walls he had built. Asterisk, she had not been blinded by wealth, or shaken by truth. Asterisk, she had stayed. Asterisk, for years, Daniel had believed love would always be tangled with his fortune, that he would never be seen for who he was beneath the name and numbers. Asterisk, but here, in this small room with mismatched plates and creaking chairs, he knew he had been wrong. Asterisk, life would not be without challenges. There would be questions, judgments, and the weight of two very different worlds. Asterisk, but Daniel no longer carried that fear alone. Asterisk, Claire turned toward him, her smile soft. You look happy. Asterisk, Daniel nodded. I am. For the first time in a long time, I truly am. Asterisk, and as they sat together for breakfast, the sound of laughter filling the room, Daniel understood something he had searched for all his life. Asterisk, it was not wealth, or power, or recognition that brought peace. It was love, simple and real, that made everything complete.